Tomorrow. Joining me now, Washington correspondent with Spectrum News, New York, Kevin Frey. Kevin, good morning to you. The White House here for the past several days has been kind of talking out both sides of their mouth. This is an opportunity for negotiation, but it also is not a moment for negotiation. I wonder if there's any indication of whether the White House is satisfied with their assessment of these potential countries coming to them to negotiate. We saw what Cambodia is doing, Vietnam. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, as you were just laying out, I mean, it's kind of this contradictory statement where you see White House aides in particular suggesting this is not a negotiation, this is an emergency that has to be addressed. And at the same time, you see Trump posting on his social media accounts about having to be tough about how they are. He was touting at one point, as you mentioned, that Vietnam potential negotiation. And so it's unclear exactly what the end game is here. One thing that I'm keeping an eye on is kind of public sentiment. Yes, in the short term, perhaps particularly his supporters are willing to engage with this. But if we continue to see the markets fall, if we eventually start to see some of those prices go up, will that be an opening? You're already seeing within the Republican Party itself some schisms, albeit it is some of the usual suspects, the Murkowskis, the Collinses of the world, that are coming out and kind of expressing some dismay and concern about where this is going, voting to try to push back, for example, on the tariffs, particularly on Canada. But whether that sentiment may grow, particularly as Congress returns this week, is one of the dynamics to keep an eye on. Trump remains defiant. Yesterday, he was out on the golf course. He was posting, sending out a pool report, the White House did, about how he won a part of this golf tournament there, which Democrats have latched onto, basically saying he's completely out of touch with what Americans are concerned about right now.
You mentioned the usual suspects, Collins, Murkowski, Rand Paul as well, and some others vacant in the House. There is, let's say, an unusual suspect, if we're using that phrasing, Ted Cruz on his podcast on Friday. Let's play some of what he said, some of his concerns about these tariffs.
I think a lot of people said, oh, he's going to threaten these tariffs, but he's going to lift them very quickly. If he does that, great. If he leaves them in place and we just have constant tariffs, that is a massive tax increase on the American people.
Was this concern about what's inside the White House, the advice he's getting as well? Listen to what he said after that.
I worry there are voices within the administration that want to see these tariffs continue forever and ever and ever. They don't want to lower them. They think they're great. And what is particularly, I think, has startled some observers, it wasn't just directed at China. It wasn't just directed at bad actors. It was directed against everybody.
He's one of the few, a very short list of allies of the White House speaking publicly about this. Are the members of Congress speaking privately in this way concerned about where this goes?
And that's the key word there, is privately. We will see if there are any actual public votes when it comes to trying to push back on Trump. There was this initiative that has been launched, as you were kind of hinting at here, in both the Senate and the House, to try to rein back some power within Congress, to have some say over tariff policy a little bit more fruitfully. The chances of that getting through the House are pretty much slim to none. What you were just playing there, I think, though, speaks to this kind of larger debate that's going on within the Republican Party right now, which is kind of the populist protectionist wing that has emerged within the last decade or so, with Trump coming on the scene, compared with the free market aspects that kind of is traditionally associated with the Republican value set. And so those two items are in tension. And so when you see Republicans on Capitol Hill, like Senator Tom Tillis, for example, coming out and saying, my farmers back home are suffering and they can't endure the waiting period, that speaks to some of that tension that's going on within the party.
I want to show a post on social media here. Someone posted part of Phil Mattingly's interview with Peter Navarro, the president's trade advisor, talking about his having a PhD or degree in economics from Harvard. And Elon Musk then replied, a PhD in econ from Harvard is a bad thing, not a good thing, and then said he ain't built S about Peter Navarro. You don't have to leave the White House for the infighting. What's going on here?
Well, I mean, let's start with the fact that Elon Musk has already not necessarily ingratiated himself to some of the other cabinet members who have publicly voiced their concern with him, or at least I should say privately with the president in various cabinet meetings that's been reported over the years. And so this is not perhaps a new dynamic that is blossoming, that Elon Musk is in contention with some of the members of the Trump's inner circle. Whether or not Trump's inner circle is willing to listen to any of that, as they have concerns about how Elon Musk is handling Doge, is another matter altogether.
On another topic, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli prime minister, is going to be at the White House tomorrow. The last time they were together at the White House, President Trump said that he would be interested in taking Gaza. The U.S. is going to take Gaza and make this Middle East Riviera. Where are, if anywhere, the talks about getting to phase 2 in the ceasefire? I imagine tariffs will be on the table as part of the discussion, but what about ending the war?
Yeah, I mean, on the tariffs front, look, Israel is facing a 17% tariff increase. Netanyahu tried to rebut that preemptively by trying to lower tariffs on U.S. goods. That got him nowhere, and so one can imagine that will be a prominent part of this conversation. But look, Trump and Netanyahu have a very different dynamic than Biden and Netanyahu. Biden grew increasingly frustrated with Netanyahu's handling of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. This second round, or the return to the ceasefire, seems to be on shaky ice, if at all. Yeah. There are some indications that there's no expectation that it would be coming in any short term anyway. And some of that is that there isn't necessarily the same amount of pressure, it seems, being exerted by the White House on Netanyahu in terms of at least backroom criticism of their handling of this conflict compared to the prior administration.
All right, we'll see. Kevin Frey, good to have you this Sunday. Thank you.